Welcome. I am Coach Aisha, a Readiness coach, certified business continuity professional. What I do is help businesses like yours plan for disaster, plan for disruption, so that we have a way around the unexpected things, but also the disruptions that can happen according to your industry. I'm definitely excited about today. I am queuing up our presentation for today, The Ugly Truth, Building Resilient Businesses. And this is a spinoff or more of a deeper dive into the podcast episode of the COOP Review, which is a podcast that NC Essentials or NC Readiness Hub hosts. And the podcast was entitled The Beauty of a Plan. This title today or focus today is The Ugly Truth. Resilience is not easy. And so, what we're going to do is focus on what readiness is all about, but the subject matter that we had for that particular um, episode is the beauty shop. And so we focus on Gina's beauty shop. Gina is a hairstylist who had acquired a she had acquired a beauty salon, and as a result she had things that can happen in a new business, but definitely things that can happen in an acquired business where you're not fully prepared, but you can use your lessons learned. And we're going to get to that point today so that we can um, actually answer some questions for you as business leaders and to, let's see, solve problems that you may face in this coming year, or address issues that you need either more efficiency, more documentation, more of the glue that brings your team together so that you're not scrambling at the times that a disruption happens, and definitely a time when disasters happen, because sometimes what we don't do as leaders is to sell to the team, sell to the employees who we have recruited the magnitude of their role there as a person, but also serving in a role and what we actually need the team to do that goes beyond the everyday day-to-day operations. So I'm excited today because this is our first webinar as a spinoff from a podcast. And in case you didn't know, it is called the Coop Review. If you haven't watched it, please go check it out. It is on YouTube, or you can go to the website. So the I have put the YouTube link in here. Is at podcast readiness coach /podcast, or you could just Google podcast readiness coach. Also, you can go directly to the website here, which is the COOP review. And COOP is short, and some people say COPE, but COOP is short for Continuity of Operations Plan. This is a plan that helps a business or an operations, and that means it can be an organization that is running an operations to plan for disruptions, to be better prepared for what can come, and also have and refer to the documentation in the plan, because we are not required to know it all. None of us. None of us leaders are required to know it all. It seems like we should always have things figured out. But the better we do this, what we're doing now, meeting um, in private, meeting outside of the workplace, meeting in a space where the magic actually happens, the planning actually happens, investing the time that we need to in our businesses without the disruptions, or without also double committing or multitasking. Let's say when we take the time out and plan, take the time out and take a step back from our day-to-day operations, we actually can see things better, and we actually can get our readiness clarified. So take a look on YouTube or the link to the website, thecoopreview.com, prior to jumping in. If this is a replay for you, if you're catching this while we're in the moment of the interactive part, then please continue to participate. You will not miss out, but you'll get the full picture, and you'll get great examples, visuals, and audio examples from the reference of the movie. What I did is I used the movie, The Beauty Shop, as a teaching tool. And yeah, so it is copyright material in that podcast. If you check it out, you'll see the notes where I used it according to fair use just for teaching. So you can use that teaching tool. So what we'll do is jump into what readiness is, go into Gina's Beauty Shop as I discussed it in the podcast, focus on the key disruptions. The lessons learned we'll discuss according to the example or the teaching tool that we're using. However, we'll also look at what you can do as a business leader so that you'll be well prepared for the uncertainties that you may have. Often we are concerned about the future, about the things that we cannot control, and the things that we can control actually may be what we are gathering, the data that we're gathering or have gathered over time, and we need to use that, and we need to document it. There is a brainstorming strategies part of this webinar. If you happen to miss this part, I would like for you to join me at a later time, or join me on camera or in a chat, where we can get some ideas going just for your operations. Ideas that are very specific and very much customized, so that it's not just a tool that you're looking at and then you're still trying to figure out, how does this apply to me? How does this apply to the leadership? How does this apply to the operations and also the team? Let's go. And of course, closing, we'll do the call to action. The mission is to simplify readiness to build resilience. Building resilient operations can happen when you invest in your people and assets. So true. Readiness. Often you hear readiness when it comes to military, and it comes to disasters, and it comes to a point where there is something major happening that trying to get ready, trying to be prepared, trying to make the moves that you could have when it was peaceful, when it was the calm before the storm, trying to do it when it is a disaster or disruption happening is like the worst time. So if you have joined me today when this is the calm before the storm, if you really do know your industry, or this is the calm before the storm of the changes, the market changes, the supply chain issues, the challenges in weather, then you have things that are maybe changing with taxes, with tariffs, with your brand reputation. Maybe you have some reviews that you feel like are questionable, or maybe leaning on the legal side. And I say legal side in that maybe you need to talk to an attorney. Maybe you need to go get more professional help, because what I tend to do is help when things are calm before, so that you are well prepared and equipped, and you know where to refer to in your plan and what to do, which part of the plan that you're referring to. However, so when I said readiness, so readiness is not limited to military. Readiness is a posture. Readiness is a position. Readiness is an attitude. Readiness is what you need for your team to be successful. So anyone can start or manage or attempt to maintain an operation. But if you don't have the attitude or the posture of readiness, is going to be more challenging, because you're fixing things as you go with no clue of how to do it. And I'm not saying the experience, I'm saying if you're absent as a leader, if you're have two fires you're putting out, and there's no documentation of what to do next, no documentation of the crisis communication plan, there's no documentation of how it works when a disaster occurs, and it's only limited to being in one person's head, in one person's mind, in one person's notebook, that is disorganization, and let's not do that. And just so you know, because often it's separated, just so you know, the business continuity plan, when I'm referring to it, I'm also referring to the fact that it includes the disaster recovery. Now, some people may refer to disaster recovery as being separate from the continuity plan. Our great continuity plan includes the disaster recovery. The continuity plan is about the business functioning, but if you are heavily relying on, if you're relying on technology, often people think about the disaster recovery and how you get your systems back up and this and that. However, you have to have a whole view of your operations. And yeah, so you don't just have a business continuity plan or just have a disaster recovery plan. It's all inclusive when I work with clients. Okay. The business continuity plan is something that may take time. So often you may take 12 months to build it, or you may make changes. But along the way, you do have what we referred to as training, the awareness program, the training. So there are so many parts to the plan, but just simple. And when you go back and listen to the podcast, it may make more sense. And as you attend the other webinars, you can gather more information or actually reach out and ask questions. But the continuity plan is very important because regulations change, laws change, and of course, the environment and things can change. And those things that are out of your control for change externally, you still are responsible for being compliant, and you're still responsible for protecting your assets. And when I'm saying assets, the way that we understand it is people. Your people are assets, but you're responsible for protecting your people and protecting your assets as a business leader. If you haven't heard of Gina's Beauty Salon, it was one that was acquired. So it had a different name, it had a different owner, different management, and it had a few different staff members. And things changed. And when those things changed, the new owner, Gina, was responsible for how the business was managed. Here are some of the disruptions that she faced. Some of the disruptions include the financial challenges. Those were all, it was pretty much a domino effect. So there were security issues. Those security issues were because of the corruption that occurred. So if you go back and watch it, I mean, it's very entertaining movie, The Beauty Shop. But Gina's beauty shop was impacted because of corruption, because of the competitor coming in or actually coming behind her back and using one of the external parties, or the parties that she had to answer to on the licensing board, using that person with bribery so that her business would fail or her business would have setbacks, and then she would eventually have to close. Again, very entertaining. And then if you go for movies or you go for depictions like this where you can see someone having like odds against them and then actually still winning and still being successful, you might enjoy it. But the reason why you will want to check this out is because there were some lessons learned. Anyone can start a business, and a lot of times we have in our society, we have the idea of starting small and growing, and that anyone can dream, anyone can set goals, anyone can start in commerce. However, the thing that needs to be emphasized more is how do you stay, not the, not from just a financial standpoint, but how do you stay? How do you prevent getting sued, or how do you keep a good name? And some people may not know how to do that in a professional sense. So these are some questions that leaders must ask themselves. But you have to document what you already know in order to be successful in this way. So let me go to the next slide, the lessons learned. So I keep saying document. If you know that there is a way to handle or mitigate risk, and you know how it worked in the past, why not write it down? Like, thinking so far ahead and saying, oh my God, what if this happens? What if that happens? Oh my goodness, this is like my operations could end today. Oh, this could happen to me in the new coming year, and all of these things are changing. However, what we should really be answering is, what do we know is true? What do we know tends to happen? what have we seen in the past? What have we seen in the industry? And actually, not only writing those things down, writing down the procedure of what does your team need to do? How many people do you need to accomplish this? If you have a staff of 50, can you still accomplish what you need to? If you have a disruption, can you use 10 people and work around a disruption until the issues with the daily operations are corrected? Like, that's something you would need to know. You don't figure those things out as you go, except that most people have. As they were growing their business, they figured it out, right? But if you don't ever have it written down, and you don't have anything for your team to rely on, what did you learn actually? What was the lesson out of it? Because if you're going to run your business on a whim, you either are going to be burnt out, or your business is just not going to last. I mean, it's just this or that. Because what are you selling? Yarn? What are you selling? Cucumbers? Like, what are you doing? Is it more of a hobby? Is it such a small, um, simple process that it's just a one woman or one man show? Is the goal to grow, or is the goal to remain stagnant, or remain, hey, this is all this is all I need to make? However, that doesn't mean you don't still have risk. It doesn't mean that your company can't have things that impact them. It doesn't matter the size. It matters that you're interacting with the public, and there are always risks. And operating on a whim is never okay. That goes to the crisis communication. So the crisis communication means, or that type of planning means, that you have gathered the contact for your employees, their emergency contact. You have also decided amongst your team who is going to be the spokesperson for the public when the news or the media wants to interview you, or you must answer to some type of risk or some type of impact that your business has had on the community, or vice versa. Who is the one person when it comes to an emergency, right? And when it comes to the public, do you have 10 people? Because you only need to have one, right? And you only need to have one who determines that, hey, this is a crisis. There has been this type of incident, and because there has been this type of incident, we now have to manage the incident, and these are our next steps. So communication is going to be key in any emergency, in any disaster, and you have to have the right posture. Again, referring back to readiness, the role of the team, of teamwork, is something you must discuss in your daily operations. Yes, that makes sense to have good or clear roles or expectations when it comes to your staff. However, what about your the roles when there is an emergency, there's something unplanned, when there is a disaster? That this is something you'll definitely have to do, and that's what you could see evident in the teaching tool of the podcast, or if you go straight to the movie The Beauty Shop, you can see the teamwork that's required. And then I'll offer more examples in the future when it comes to these podcasts. Podcast is really separate from the webinar because there is less interaction unless it's a premiere and you join a premiere and you join a live event. But this is a good time for us to brainstorm strategies. So if you are watching this and you're thinking about, hey, I don't know where to start, I just want you to write down or actually include it in the chat 3 disruptions that your company or operations have experienced in the last 12 months. We could go back further and say in the last 3 years, but in the last 12 months, what are 3 disruptions that your operations have have faced, right? Just very curious to know because every industry is different. But sometimes it doesn't matter the industry. It could be the atmosphere. It could be the atmosphere of the local area. It could be the weather impacting. It could be the market. So I just want to know that because until you know what really is impacting your daily operation, you then don't know where to start. You could focus on the industry, for instance, if it was a new if you're having new operations or you're new leader, yes, you could definitely focus on your industry. That would be a good idea for new businesses or new leaders who are new to the industry. But if you have built your business from scratch or acquired a business and you have had some time in, you should know the answer to that. And then I want to know what you actually did when you were presented with those disruptions. Like, how did you handle it? What did you do? All right. I am going to for the next steps, for the call to action, what I'm going to do is drop the email. Actually, I'm not going to drop the email. This is let me just go to the last slide because if you have watched this and you say, hey, I need to know more. I want to interact more. I want to do more work. And what you've done is kind of like only brief. It's not enough. I want to see more. I want to do more. Then stay connected with me. Threads is going to be the way that you can reach me directly. So this is for my clients where what we do is when you decide to work with me, you have the one-on-one access to me through the nc.readiness.hub threads. Then you see I also have the podcast, which I mentioned at the COOPreview.com, also on YouTube. And then you'll see information about the hub membership so that we can work further. But the thing is that I want to offer more strategies. So what I have been looking at is in the chat to see if anyone has provided examples of your 3 disruptions or disasters in the last 12 months. And I want to start interacting with those who kind of know their business more. Not really a new business owner, but a new business owner. We do have options for you because you, in your writing or drafting of your plan, you can include the continuity concepts in your plan because it will better help you to have a lasting company, to have a lasting operations. Yeah. So I'm going to close here on this page, but if you receive the invite and you have attended a webinar and you say you want more, guess what? I'm going to give you more because I'm going to know that you signed up for the webinar, have your email, and I will reach out for next steps. But feel free to communicate in the chat, and also feel free to follow back up. And I really thank you for joining the webinar. I thank you for making time. And this is the magic that you need so that when you show up in your operations, when disaster and disruptions show up also, you're well prepared, you're well equipped, as well as your team, and then you will be able to better protect your team and your assets. And I love it, and that's exactly what I do. That's exactly what I'm here for, and I want you to stay connected to me in these ways, and feel free to share and refer others to me and to all the projects that I'm working on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for participating, and let's stay connected.